Can I ask you a question? Do you find that you're living with any margin in your life? Honestly, if you look at your calendar, if you look at your finances, if you look at your relational world, is there any margin in it? One of the best things that we can do, something that I've noticed all really successful people have, is margin. They have margin in their time. They have margin in their finances. They have margin in their relational and emotional world, so they can pay attention to those people and those relationships that they really need to. Our culture tells us to fill up our calendar, to be as productive as possible, to not waste a minute. That where we're continuously having marketing come at us saying, buy this, get now, pay later. And it's really, really easy for people to live beyond their means, not within their means, and even be able to create that margin. That because of social media, we're so connected with so many people that often our emotional and relational energy is going in so many ways that we haven't got the margin to put that attention into the people that really need it. But margin is so important because margin actually helps us become the person we want to be. A way to understand this is there was a social psychology experiment that was done in Princeton University in 1973. And in this experiment, they wanted to see what would happen if they asked students to go from one room to another room, from one building to another actually, in order to give a presentation. And what they did was they actually had a paid actor who was in their path between where they were and where they needed to be, who was pretending to be really hurt and just in a huge amount of distress. And what they wanted to see was how many of these students, as they went from this building to that building, would actually stop and help this person who was in need. And what they discovered was that when they told the students, hey, you're running late for your presentation, you need to go now and get there, do you know that only 10% of these students stopped? 10%, 1 in 10. The 90% of them just walked past this person who was appeared to be hurt, who was in a high level of distress. They just ignored him to get to where they were going. But when they told the students that, hey, you actually have got time to get to where you're going, you're not in a rush, they discovered that, I think it was 63% of them stopped. So not a great number still, but a whole lot more than the 10%, more than 6 times the number stopped because they thought they had a little bit more margin. What's fascinating about this experiment though was what those students were told they were going to present in this other room was about a presentation on the Good Samaritan, which is a story that Jesus told about someone who stopped to help someone else. And when we actually look at the story of the Good Samaritan, there is so much we can unpick. But to keep it short and sharp, let me just explain to you one aspect of this, which is so profound, because the story goes that there was a man sick on the side of the road, and one person went past and ignored him. Then another went past and saw him, crossed and ignored him. But then the Samaritan came, and that's so loaded. I can't tell you why now, but you want to look that up. It's pretty cool. But the Samaritan came past and he saw the sick man, and the Samaritan stopped, and the Samaritan got down and helped him, and he poured wine on his wounds, and he put oil on his wounds, and he then took the sick person to an inn, and he paid the bill at the end so the man could stay, and he said, look, I'll be back, and if the costs go up, I'll cover those costs too. And what's remarkable about the Good Samaritan is the Good Samaritan clearly had margin. He was able to stop. He wasn't in such a rush to get to where he needed to be that he saw someone in distress, and he had the margin to be able to stop and help and do what I think you'd like to do, what I'd like to do. But not only did he have margin in his time, he had margin financially. Oh, I heard it said once that even the Good Samaritan wouldn't be so good if he didn't have coin. He was able to pour his oil on this man. He was able to pour his wine on this man to help with the wounds. He was able to pay for his accommodation. He clearly had the relational and an emotional margin to help someone who was in desperate need for it. And I think that's the kind of person you want to be, right? Those that can help those that are around you, to support those that are around you, to take care of those that are around you. Well, hey, if you're going to be that type of person, if I'm going to be that type of person, we've got to be someone who lives with a margin. Because I guarantee you that the Good Samaritan, he wouldn't have been so good if he didn't have margin. He would have just walked by like those other two. You and I man, we can make a big difference in this world if we're intentional about living with margin. So maybe you need to get out your calendar and start to say, hey, how can I build some margin into my day? Maybe you got to look at where your money's going and say, how can I build some margin into my finances? Maybe you've got to stop trying to please everybody out there and make sure that we're focusing on those relationships that are closest to us so that we can live with margin, so we can give the best to those who really need it from us and really deserve it from us.